Could you tell me a bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, so my name is Manchan McGann, and I live in Westmeath, just beside Longford. And I have 10 acres, and I live on that 10 acres. I have 2 hectares of woodland, and some parts of the year I have animals, I have pigs and sheep on the land. And I have a polytunnel of vegetables, but I don't earn my income from that. I write a bit for the Irish Times newspaper, and I do occasional television programmes. So the farm is like a hobby.
Okay, thank you. Why did you decide to adopt this lifestyle?
I wanted a world that made sense to me. So I used to live a lot in other countries, in India and South America and Africa. And there I saw people were living on what was around them. They were eating what was around them. They were for their houses. They were just using the stone or the mud or the straw. And it made sense to me. And somehow I was brought up in the centre of Dublin. And that world of living in a housing estate and having a job in a bank and having a huge mortgage that would take me 30 years to pay back, that just frightened me. It didn't only frighten me, it gave me depression. I just thought, I don't want to do that. So I tried to find another way of living.
What major difficulties do you face promoting this lifestyle?
A lot. So, our world is set up to have a different lifestyle, to have a lifestyle that there are major companies and everyone pays into those companies. We buy the latest Nike runner, we buy the latest clothes, we give 30 years of our lives to a bank by buying a huge house or by taking out a big mortgage. So and government relies on all these big business and banks for taxes. So if I am trying to do my own little thing, that's going against all of those ideas. And so it's laughed at. That sort of utopian or hippie or alternative idea is seen as dirty and not for the mainstream. So, television, newspapers, all the major things are sort of, they're being funded by advertising, and all of that means that you're a consumer of all the new things that are coming out. So sort of most of the powerful people don't want to hear alternative ideas.
Do you believe that society will take this lifestyle on board, or is it just wishful thinking?
So for 20 years it's just been wishful thinking. All the people who say move towards vegetarianism or move towards eco lives, it's just a small group of sort of middle class people. The only thing that will speed it up is if we have more difficulties, which is terrible, more suffering. If they say that most cities only have about 10 days food in them, because of transport. And if diesel or something stopped and the roads and the ships, suddenly the food couldn't get in, then people would very quickly start growing their own food. They did it, my sister-in-law is Slovakian, and there they did it because there was rationing. Just back from Cuba, and also there they did it because there's rationing. They weren't guaranteed their food supply, they weren't guaranteed clothes, so they went back to knitting and cotton. So it'll only work if there's more suffering, and nobody wants to add more suffering to the world.
What are some common arguments made against your position, and what is your response?
Some of the common arguments is it doesn't work for the mainstream. Organic vegetable may be okay, but that's only for the little elite group of wealthy people who have more money to pay and who can pay the expensive prices for vegetables. But things like that, I would say, yes, at the moment organic vegetables are expensive because the mainstream does it cheaper on a mass scale, but they rely on petrochemicals. And it used to be just hippies who said that the petrol will run out. But everyone in the world seems to be sure that the petrol will run out, or at least if we keep burning it, it just is going to increase the carbon in the atmosphere. So, the world is stuck at the moment, it's not making any moves to challenging that. But it seems likely that they will have to. And when they do that, then there'll no longer be petrochemicals for pesticides and fertilizers for the fields. So we're going to have to go back to natural ways, unless there's a whole other revolution and people think of a new way of doing it.
And finally, do you think Ireland is the best country in which to live?
No, I think so. We were all based in little neighbourhoods, every tribe around the world, and this is the first century where we've been linked, where we've actually seen there's more beyond. Like I live in Westmeath, there's more than beyond Westmeath, and there's more beyond Ireland. And what's amazing about the last 100 years is we're breaking down those barriers and realising that the people beyond our parish aren't our enemies necessarily, which they always were, because they were going to attack us. It's amazing. Within 1 or 2 generations, we've realised that actually we can trust the people in other countries, and they're actually not as different from us, and maybe we can learn from them too.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.